everyone, my name is Andrea. If you don't know me, you should subscribe because like why not? You should also hit the notification bell down below to be notified every time I upload a new video. But anyway, today I will be doing my April wrap up. I read 10 books and I read some really great ones, some fun rereads, some new books, so I'm very excited overall. Really quick, I just want to say that if anybody noticed or cares, I did upload only 4 times in April, which is less than I would have liked to, less than I usually do, so I'm sorry. School has been really stressful, but we are entering the last week and a finals week, so after this I will be done with school for a little bit and I'll have a lot more time to film on my days off and to read books and just enjoy life and the good things in life. So I promise to have more videos in May. I'm making a promise and a vow. Anyway, the first book I read in April was a reread. It was Unravel Me by Tahereh Mafi. This one is from the original Shatter Me trilogy. This is book 2. This one was always my favorite and it is still my favorite. I gave this one 5 out of 5 stars. I just think the content of this book just goes a lot deeper into the main character, whose name is Juliet. A lot of the side characters, the romance between Juliet and her love interest develops a lot more in this one, so I absolutely love it. 5 out of 5 stars. Then I read Ignite Me, which is the final one in the original Shatter Me trilogy, not including the rest of the other 3. This one was always my least favorite and I gave it 3 stars. So how do you go from a 5-star to a 3-star, especially when book 2 has the potential to have middle book syndrome, but book 3 is actually worse? I don't know how that happens, but yeah, I gave it 3 stars. It's not like bad, but it's not my favorite, and it's really a anticlimactic ending, so that's definitely like why I gave it 3 stars, but I still really enjoyed it and I think it's still beautifully written, and you should read Shatter Me. That's all I have to say. I then picked up Rule of Wolves by Leigh Bardugo. This is book 2 in the King of Scars duology, and surprisingly, this is my biggest shock of 2021 so far. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars, and let me tell you, I gave King of Scars 2 stars. How do I go from a 2-star to a 5-star? I don't know, but Leigh Bardugo, she did it in Rule of Wolves. She really did it. I remember it took me months to read King of Scars. Now, Rule of Wolves, it took me like 2 weeks, and that's because like I said, I was busy, didn't have the time, but I definitely could have just sat there and kept reading. I even did tab a little bit, like just marking the pages. When I don't fully tab, I'll just like mark the edges, but yeah, and honestly 5 out of 5 just for the way that this book is presented, the way that it looks. It's just a gorgeous book, and the color and everything, except, you know, actually maybe I should give it 4 stars because this book is not the same size as King of Scars. How are you gonna have a duology and make the 2 books not be the same size? It makes no sense. If you haven't picked up Rule of Wolves and haven't found that out, I'm sorry to break the news to you, but yeah, this one is shorter than King of Scars. It makes me mad. Me and my friends Therese and Lisa talked about this. We weren't happy. We're still not happy, but that's just what we have to live with. The reason I think I liked this one more than King of Scars and actually cared was that the characters felt like there was stuff at stake and they were actually being more developed. I felt like in King of Scars we were just going along doing a whole lot of nothing to get to this point, and that's not a good thing in books. Something should be happening. There should be a purpose, and in that one I just don't know what the purpose of that book was. You know what I do? It was just to get to this one, and that's definitely, like I said, just not something I enjoy. And so in this one we see Nina, and she's still continuing her journey, but it's actually making sense with the whole plot of the Grishaverse characters, like the ones from Shadow and Bone. So I think overall the whole mixture of the characters, and we did get some cameos in this one. I'm just gonna say we did get some cameos and they were great. There was some heartbreaking scenes in this one, and overall just a lot of heart-wrenching things that made me care, and that's definitely why I gave 5 stars. And I do recommend reading this one. I don't want to tell you to have to go through King of Scars to get to this one, because that's just, I wouldn't do it again. I would read Rule of Wolves again, but I wouldn't go through King of Scars again. But I'm not trying to drag King of Scars. We're talking about Rule of Wolves. I'm sorry. Lasting thoughts were that this was just a brilliant book and I really loved it. Okay, so then I did something really fun. I just had a great time. No new releases were coming out in April so that I wanted, except Rule of Wolves. Actually, Rule of Wolves came out like March 31st, so I'm lying. Yeah, nothing came out in April that I was really excited about. So I did a lot of rereads, and I knew going into April I wanted to do that. So the next books I read were, the next 3 were rereads. I'm sorry, actually the next 4. Anyway, so I reread The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. I actually gave this one 3 stars the first time I read it, but I think that now This is like my third or fourth reread. I've just been doing this. I don't know how many times I've read this one, but I think that I would give it 5 stars. The fact that I've read it that much, it has moved up to my Andrews Hall of Fame list where I can't look at them critically. I could just give them 5 stars if I'm rereading them. So yeah, there's that. My train of thought just like left the station. So yeah, I've definitely seen people bail out at The Cruel Prince and say that it's not what people have hyped it up to be, but I disagree. I beg to differ. I think that just Holly Black setting up the world of fairy is so vivid and so magical. I love being in the world. It feels different. I can be immersed in it, which is something I needed in April to just distract me from everything. And I was listening to it on audio, so that did help too. But yeah, I just have a really fond appreciation for The Cruel Prince after this reread, and I'm happy, so I'm gonna say I give it 5 stars. Then I read The Wicked King, of course, because I couldn't stop. The Wicked King was always my favorite, still my favorite, probably never gonna change. But I just love the way this book dives more into the romance. And not only does it do that, but it also just pushes Jude far, like as far as she can go in her political power game. So that's even better. Like, I don't know, I just think it has it all. Like, the series just has it all. If you don't know, this is like, if you don't know about the Folk of the Air trilogy, because I also read The Queen of Nothing, I'll just move on now, 5 out of 5 stars. And this is my first time getting to reread The Queen of Nothing since I read it when it came out last year. I really loved The Queen of Nothing this time. I found it so interesting. Like, I feel like the first time I was reading it so quick, I didn't get to appreciate everything. This time I really did. And just all of the scenes were so good that we got. But The Folk of the Air overall, if you've never heard or read about it, it has the trope of enemies to lovers with Jude and Cardan. Cardan is a prince of fairy. Jude is a mortal. She's a mortal girl who was taken to fairy when she was young and raised amongst the folk. But she wants power too. She wants to rival the fairies. And she wants to be better than them, and Cardan is at the top. He's a prince, and so they just don't like each other at all when they're young, when they're old, at all. And so it's an enemies to lovers thing, but just getting to see their journey and the fight and the struggle that Jude goes through to get power and to fight for the power that she wants is amazing. And I really like it. I don't know. I think if you've read The Cruel Prince, you should definitely read The Wicked King because that one is my favorite, like I said. And Queen of Nothing, a lot of people didn't like this one, didn't like the ending, and didn't like this book at all. But I met Holly Black whenever this one was released, and she kind of explained it and explained where her headspace was, what she was thinking when she was writing it, and yeah, that just made me love it. So I could never give this one less than 5 stars because I have some sentimental attachment. Next, I reread Six of Crows. Of course I did. I wanted to get ready for Shadow and Bone. Was I gonna prepare for Shadow and Bone by reading Shadow and Bone? No. I was gonna prepare by reading Six of Crows. And that was the best decision I could have made in April because I'm just so happy that I got to reread, and all the Crows details were fresh on my mind when I watched the show. If you haven't watched Shadow and Bone, go stream it on Netflix. Just do it now. Like, leave this video. It's fine. Go watch it. We need season 2. But anyway, yeah, and I got to highlight in this one. Let's see if I can show you. This is not doing anything. Okay, yeah, you can see that I wrote and highlighted and all that stuff. Okay, I want to show this page, this spread that I did, because look, I wrote around the entire edges, and I'm in love with it. Yeah, okay, because on this page it has the quote, a gambler, convict, a wayward son, a lost Grisha, a silly girl who had become a killer, a boyfriend barrel who had become something worse. So what I did was start down here, write a gambler, and then I went all the way around and wrote that whole thing. Like, it's not even notes, it's not even annotations, it's just for my own personal enjoyment. But I love that page. So that's what I did while I was rereading Six of Crows. That's probably why it took me so freaking long to finish it. Like, it took me way longer than it should have, but I was also busy trying not to, you know, be mad at myself. Of course, I gave this 5 out of 5 stars because it's Six of Crows. Like, what do you expect? I will say that I missed a couple things the first 3 times that I read it. This is like my 4th reread. I missed a couple things, which surprised me. I forgot how it ended. Like, I forgot that the very last scene was in a different character's perspective that we didn't get in the rest of the book. So it's always cool to find new things when you think you know everything about a world, and I really enjoyed that. Not much else to say. Also, mine is signed and made out to me, so it's very special. And yeah, 5 out of 5 stars. So finally we get to a book that I had never read before, and that was I Am Not Your Perfect Mexican Daughter by Erica L. Sanchez. So me and my friend Therese from Bookish Therese, you should go check her out. She is the loveliest friend. But me and her decided to buddy read this just randomly. I think we just both had the book and wanted to read it, so we did. We both read this, and I don't know what she rated it. I think she gave it 4 stars, but I know I gave it 4 stars. And this book just dealt with a lot. So we're following our main character, whose name is Julia. Her older sister has recently just passed away, and it was very unexpected, and her mom was always kind of favoring her older sister, and Julia has always kind of lived in that shadow and tried to be the perfect Mexican daughter, and dealt with her mom not really favoring her or liking her because she doesn't act like she should, and she didn't act like her older sister. So Julia is coping with not being the perfect daughter, not wanting to, like she wants to live this different life than what she's supposed to, while also coping with the grief of losing her older sister and finding some clues that maybe her older sister wasn't as perfect as she said that she was and always acted. So it's a very heavy book, surprisingly. Like, that is just the main premise and what you get from reading the back, but it goes into a lot of deeper things. The reason I gave it 4 stars, and what me and Therese talked about a lot when we finished, was that this book dived into things, but then it just kind of stayed there. Like, it didn't go all the way, it didn't completely wrap things up, it just left loose ends all over the place. And so that overall kind of bothered us and took away some of the enjoyment. But also, this book needed trigger warnings. I don't think I've ever said that about a book, because I am usually somebody who can go into a book without trigger warnings, but this one, it would have been nice to have some because there are so many. I'll try to name some off the top of my head. If I miss any, I will make a list like here or down here. But some of the trigger warnings that I just remember were depression, attempted suicide, self-harm, drug abuse, sexual assault to a minor, gun violence, homophobia. I think that's all I can remember. That was 7, but there's probably a couple more that I missed, and I know I like had made a list, but I can't see it because it's on my phone and I'm filming on my phone. I don't think. Therese made a list too and added on, and we just had this big comprehensive list of trigger warnings for this one contemporary book. So definitely, if you're going to read this, please check out all these trigger warnings before you do, because it was a lot. Overall, I gave it 4 stars. I think it did what it was set out to do, and it was really cool to see Mexican culture in a book. Like, I don't know, I did enjoy it. I think that was my favorite aspect of it, was that it had Mexican culture, and I don't read many books with that, and I wish I did because I'm Mexican. But you know, a lot of definitely contemporaries, maybe I can find some, but when it comes to like fantasy, which is what I always read, never. We never get Mexican characters. So this was actually a refreshing take to be in a world where they're like, hey, Mexicans exist and look, they have entire lives. But yeah, so I mean, this felt like an important book. I think it was an important book, but like I said, the trigger warnings, so many. So then I read The Viscount Who Loved Me by Julia Quinn. It's the second Bridgerton book. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. This one follows Daphne's older brother, whose name is Anthony. He is the oldest Bridgerton, and he is basically the father of the family because their father passed away when he was like 12 or so, maybe 18. 12 and 18 are very different, but I don't remember. I think it was 18. So yeah, we're following Anthony. It's of course just a historical romance. We're just seeing him realizing that he wants to settle down, wants to have a wife, but you know what? He doesn't want to marry for love because bad things happen to people, and bad things will probably happen to him, as in he'll probably die at an early age like his father did, so he thinks. And so why would he marry someone for love? He's just gonna marry someone because he has to, someone to leave the Bridgerton name with an heir. And then comes along the perfect girl that he thinks will be the perfect wife, and he'll never fall in love with her. The one thing is that this girl has an older sister who basically he has to get her approval before he can marry the one that he wants to. Her name is Kate, and she is a bit of a complication. She is a whirlwind of just chaos, and she is actually intriguing Anthony and taking up some space in his dreams. But he can never marry someone for love, and he can never love Kate, could he? I don't know. You'll have to read The Viscount Who Loved Me to figure it out. That was a very dramatic explanation, but overall I really liked it. Can't wait for season 2 of Bridgerton's to see Anthony's story on the screen. Finally, I had like 3 days left of April and I wanted to read one more book because I wanted to read 10 books. I don't know. I got it in my head that I wanted to read 10 books and I did. So the final book I read was Illuminati by J. Kristoff and Amy Kaufman. I had heard a lot about Illuminati before. It's just kind of been a classic that so many people have talked about over the years, and I have all 3 that I bought like secondhand. As you can tell, it doesn't have a dust jacket, so I've had them, and I figured since it's told in all of these random correspondence and documents and everything from a spacecraft, it would be easy to read, and it was. This thing is like 599 pages, but I read it so quickly. So if you ever want a quick read so you can get your Goodreads count up, you can check this out because it was an easy and fast read. I did end up giving Illuminati 4 out of 5 stars. I know what it was supposed to do. I think the execution was well. It was really cool. It was very different to read it in this sort of mixed media form, but it overall didn't fully grasp me. Like, I wasn't on the edge of my seat waiting for things to happen, and it was definitely predictable in a few spots, so that was like a downside, but it was only a little downside. The rest of the pros outweighed the one little con, so it was pretty good. But yeah, I really love the main characters, Katie and Ezra. I think they're a really cool couple. They're really cool dynamic of love interest that we get to see, because the start of the book, they just went through a breakup, and then the planet they're on gets like bombed and basically attacked, and so then they get separated on 2 different spaceships, and the only way they can talk to each other is on this like cyber chat thing that they have to basically do illegally and hack around the system. And yeah, so they had just broken up, but now they're like, oh my god, like, we're actually gonna die now. Maybe we should apologize. Maybe we still have something, but wait, we're gonna die. And you know, and it takes place in space, so it's overall pretty cool. That is all the books I read. Let me know down below what your favorite read of April was. I think mine was definitely Rule of Wolves, because that book was so good. That's pretty much all I have to say. If you stayed till the end, comment down a yellow heart, because I would love to see who stays till the end of all my videos. But that's pretty much it. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!
I saw you out in Hollywood, so we drove to Laurel Canyon. I gave you all of my spare time, and you just couldn't stand it. You say she's a work of art. You pick her up from school.